Okay, I'm streamlining. I'm going to keep this simple. As you notice, it's a different intro. And just because you can do something the fancy way doesn't mean you should do it the fancy way. So from now on, I'm going to have my sponsors, then I'm going to do my little intro for the guest, music, and then the actual podcast, the interview itself. So here goes. First up, Apparel. is a men's clothing brand that wants to encourage more fellas to do yoga. Yoga is in the DNA and it's reflected in everything they do, from being kinder to the environment by using sustainable and recycled fabrics to their recycled paper packaging and focus on men's health. Their fabrics are eco-certified because our planet can't afford to take much more irresponsible manufacturing. Go to om.com/#TYLP and check out their full range of eco-friendly activewear for fellas. If you use the promo code Kevin at checkout, you get 15% off, not valid for clearance items. So that's om.com/#TYLP, Kevin at checkout for 15% off your activewear. Next sponsor is 108 Asana Yoga Sequencing Cards by Yogaroo. They provide sequencing cards for your home practice and for planning classes, if you do that kind of thing. So if you're feeling a bit lost on your mat, especially if it's first thing in the morning and you're a bit groggy, then you can get your pack of cards out, check out the alignment cues, the level guides, the anatomy coding, and the Sanskrit English translations, so you can build your own home practice. To get 10% off your sequencing cards, go to yogaroo.ie, click the 108 Asana cards, hit the checkout button, and then you can put in the promo code Kevin, Kevin, and that will give you 10% off your order. Yeah. And last but most definitely not least, smallchanges.ie. They have a website, but they are an eco-friendly, organic, plant-based whole food store based here in Dublin. There's no promo codes for this. They are simply doing what they can to do their bit for the environment. If you check out smallchanges.ie, you'll be able to go down there. They don't sell anything online just yet, but you can go down there and actually in person buy stuff, bring a reusable cup and get 50% off a juice or a smoothie. So check them out, smallchanges.ie. And now for my guest. That was pretty efficient, wasn't it? So Rae Broderick. Rae was over here, last week. That's when I spoke to her. And she was teaching a couple of workshops. She was teaching her first retreat as well. Rae is based in Woodstock, New York, where she teaches and manages a Strala yoga studio. And this is a new style of yoga, newish style. So it's quite interesting to see how yoga is still evolving and to hear Rae venture over to this part of the world all the way from the States and how she's made it happen for herself, by sending emails and working it, if you know what I'm saying. So that I'm going with that. So without further ado, this is why I'm trying to keep my intro short. Here's Rae. What's up, Rae?
Hey.
Can you hear me well?
I can hear you very well.
We've got a live audience.
Hey, Rae Broderick in the house.
Yeah, so Rae brought her niece. I was expecting a child, but you're very much an adult. And so thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How's your coffee?
Oh, it's divine. It's very milky here. The dairy is so delicious here that it's like you go right to that little machine in the gas station and it's like, yes.
So you eat dairy?
Yeah. Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay. Right in there.
No, I didn't mean that. Sorry, I wasn't getting at that. What I was getting at is that I've recently stopped eating dairy.
Yeah.
And just because my girlfriend is, I've actually made a vow that I wasn't going to bring up my girlfriend anymore in podcasts, but I seem to always do it. But but my girlfriend is allergic to dairy. What's that when you're allergic to dairy? Lactose intolerant. Yeah. Uh-huh. She's lactose intolerant, and it started me questioning like how about diet. Sure. And how diet is so subjective. Yeah. So do you follow any specific diet?
Oh my God, I'm like, bring it on, because I'm really passionate about this stuff. And so No, I don't. I call myself a food eater now because I would very much put myself in all of these boxes when it came to food. And I think especially as a yoga instructor, you can't eat meat or you can't do this and you can't do that. I don't think it's as black and white as that. I think food is related to so many, cultural things, how we've grown up. And I find, in work that I do with people, whether through coaching or through a yoga class, it's not as simple as that. Food is very loaded for a lot of people. Was for me. So I never had an eating disorder in the sense like of bulimia or anorexia, but very much disordered eating. And I'm going to be vegan. And it's a control thing, right? Like I'm going to put myself in this box and I'm not going to eat this. And it was so much mental anguish for myself, this concept of nonviolence in yoga. It's like the violence I was projecting internally on myself was much more harmful, in my opinion, to me than like eating a chicken once every few months, So, and it's something that if I'm not careful, I can go down that rabbit hole. But now I'm able to step back and say, like, well, where am I feeling kind of out of control that's not food related?
Yeah.
So there'll be days where I eat vegan. There'll be days where I'm like, oh, you know what? I really want a burger. And it's something that I do grapple with. It's not like I'm completely free of that internal monologue, but I'm at a much better place for sure.
Well, I think that being conscious of what you're eating, and also it was Earth Day on Monday.
Yeah.
Was that this week? Yeah, Earth Day recently anyway. And I have to be honest that I'm quite selfish with my consumption. I turn off lights, turn off the taps,
Sure.
but I never really thought about diet or maybe veganism and how it affects climate change. And I actually don't eat really meat. I never buy meat, like beef, pork, chicken, never. And therefore I probably eat it once, twice a week. And I've started to watch, have you seen Our Planet?
No.
Okay, well,
I know of it.
David Attenborough
Yeah.
documentary, and talks about how two of the things you can do to help climate change, the biggest things, meat consumption, because of factory farming, but also how much we fly. And I think that's, when people think about veganism, it's because I was a vegan for a while, and to be honest, I felt the same. I didn't feel any physical change really, but I now feel like if I'm eating less meat, I'm doing something for the greater good.
Sure.
And that makes it a bit more purposeful. I want to ask you about Strala yoga. Because firstly, what does that mean, Strala?
It's Swedish for to radiate light.
Okay, so that's why the first A has a kind of little circle above it. So, okay, to radiate light. And what is it?
So that actually, just to Tara Stiles and Michael Taylor, the founders of Strala, that was kind of a happy accident. They scrambled the letters and then they found out that that's what it meant after the fact. So it's not like they had this amazing word and then, so it was kind of this happy accident. So Strala yoga is a combination of Tai Chi and natural movement. So it's much less posed base. It's focused on internal alignment as opposed to external alignment. So I'm not going to come adjust you and fix you in a class. How you are is just how you should be. And there's a lot of freedom in the poses and the movements. So if you're holding a warrior two, for example, the inhales lift you, the exhales soften you. So invitation to move and explore what feels good for your body, not what it looks like, but how it feels. So very much like, how does this feel for you in this moment right now?
And this is essentially invented by Tara Stiles and this other chap.
Sure. So they're married. She was a dancer, and they had started doing yoga together, like in an apartment in New York. And I've been doing Strala for about 6 or 7 years, and it's definitely evolved. The Tai Chi element has become a much bigger part of the trainings and just the style of movements. Before it was, I don't want to say before it was a vinyasa class, and if I were to explain it that way, I don't really like to explain it. I just like people to experience it, really. If I do a workshop or something, it's like, well, let's just feel it first rather than me tell you what you're going to experience, right? Yeah. But it's a flow. It's very dance-like. She was a dancer, so the choreography of the movements is very fluid.
Okay.
And even as I'm talking, I'm waving. I can't help it. I'm like moving my body. But now the Tai Chi element, this idea of moving from your middle, the hara, moving everything you've got in every direction that you can. So not isolating things, not holding poses for extremely long periods of time where, is your arm here? Like, where's your drishti? Like, all of these things. It's much more, it's just very relaxed and wonderful.
It's pretty cool that, because I did research at Tara. Do you say Tara or Tara?
Tara.
Tara. Okay. Okay.
I can say Tara.
No. You say how you say. I'll say Tara. But so it's pretty cool how Tara has essentially created her own style of yoga, and now you teach in the New York branch. Is it? Do we say or studio?
Yeah. So I managed the studio for a couple of years, and I taught there I was teaching there first, and then I came on as full-time manager.
Yeah.
And then once I had my son, we moved to Woodstock, and that was that. But
so Woodstock is in where?
It's about 2 hours north of Manhattan.
Okay.
In the Catskills.
Oh, that's where Mike Tyson's from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe so. The Catskills, that's where you grew up.
Oh.
But, yeah.
Catskills a big area.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And now you've got, how many premises, like 15 or something around? Is it just around the States that they have Strala Yoga, or is it worldwide?
Oh, she's in Berlin now doing a training. There's literally guides from all over the globe.
Right.
So, yeah. So the New York studio it's no longer there. They moved to Utah, and what they do now is kind of travel and do intensives and trainings all over. And
what brought you to Ireland? As in, how did you initially get in touch with anyone over here? How did that come about?
So I was coming over. I don't even think I had a regular class on the Strala schedule yet. I was still a new teacher. And prior to finding Strala, I had done a vinyasa training. And I'd been doing yoga for a really long time before that. And I was like, oh, well, let's get my certification and see what happens. And when I was coming over to meet my husband's family for the first time, I'm just going to email this studio and see what happens. I'm a Strala guide, and they were like, great. So that's how I got connected with Flow Studio in Belfast. And yeah, and then there were a couple other classes I led at that time when I was over. And then from there, I've just formed this odd kind of following and relationship with these studios. So every time I come back, I reach out to the people that I know. And I'm somebody that when I go to a new city, I'm trying out the different studios anyway. I like to experience different teachers and studios and classes. So, yeah, it's just those connections are important to me. And
yeah. So, yeah, because you came to my class, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I pulled up the Mind Body app. I'm like, oh, he's teaching class. I should go.
Yeah. When I seen you there, I'd already seen your name on the name sheet, so that's why I wasn't that surprised.
Okay, yeah.
And you're probably thinking, no, I was like, hey, Rae, what's up?
I figured you saw the list, but I also didn't want to message you and then be like, oh, she's, I was like, I'll just go because I want to go. It's not like I'm like, oh, is he a good teacher? I'm like, I just need a yoga class. I'm like, arrived in at 5 a.m. I need to move.
yeah, I know what that feels like. So, so you've been to a few classes here in Ireland now. How would you say your experience of doing yoga public classes, as in being a student, is like compared to what it's like in the States? Obviously, we're generalizing here, but I'm just interested to see what comparisons.
I don't really know if there's much of a difference because I take a lot of different classes in the States as well, and I feel like everybody has their style. I think maybe in the States, I don't know if I see a major difference, really. I don't know.
What about when I was in New York 2 years ago, and I went to a place in Brooklyn. I went to yoga there every day, sometimes twice a day. And
can you say where?
I would love to, but it's in Brooklyn. It's on the main street.
The main street of Brooklyn is not helpful.
No. Okay. It's near a park. No, sorry, I don't know. But
okay, no
they were really good. But one thing they did at the start of class was they sat down, and it's 7 a.m. and they said, so everyone sit in a circle and introduce yourself.
Oh.
Yeah. And I thought, is this standard in the States? And to me, that is a very American thing to do, because to be quite open in how you share, how you feel. I was listening to an interview with Tara, and she was saying that when she teaches class, when she taught class, she'll be amongst the people instead of just being up at the front.
Sure.
And everyone else comes in, she'll actually be amongst them, talking to them. And I think that I did this weekend last weekend with David Cam, who does. He's a movement-based teacher, but he comes from a dance background. And one of the things we had to do was hold eye contact with somebody.
Yeah.
And it was, I found it, and like look at them and kind of really genuinely look at them. And I must say, I find that stuff a little bit, I find it uncomfortable. And I wonder, is that something to do with the Irish culture we have here / English culture, because it's very similar. And have you noticed when you're teaching a class or a workshop in Ireland, have you noticed any cultural differences that you've had to adjust for?
Well, and I think Strala as a style anyway, I mean, now that you say it, but again, I get it that it's an Irish English cultural thing for sure, where people are a little more reserved. But you do find that in America. So for me, that's not like a startling. Some people, like, they just want to come to yoga. They don't want to talk to anybody. And there's some teachers, we call it like the yoga voice, where it's like, oh, hey, Kevin, what's up? And then you teach class and you're like, hello, Kevin. And it's like, who is this person that's up at like, what is that? Where did you go? So like me, how I am, like, this is how I teach, And I think that there definitely has been, I don't know if people don't expect it, but when I lead a workshop or a class, it's like, you can move your body, like you can have fun, or making little jokes, and not like, haha, let's take you out of this experience, but really getting people out of their heads into their bodies. And when I sat down in your class, I did notice how like quiet it was. And I guess in a Strala class too, people be like, hey, what's up? And if I'm somewhere new, 100% before class starts, not at the start, everybody get in a circle, but before class starts, I make sure I go around to every mat. Hi, I'm Rae. How are you? Thank you so much for coming. And just making that personal connection. And I can't promise I'm going to remember everybody's name, but at least I've taken that moment just to kind of establish myself as like, look, I know I'm leading this experience, but we're on the same level and you can trust me and you just do you, So it's kind of taking that, I don't know, that level down where it's like, you're the teacher. It's like, I'm just here to do this with you.
That's a really interesting point you made there about the maybe coming to a class that's slightly more boisterous. Yesterday I was teaching a class in another studio, and it was like going there was a few people that knew each other, so everyone was very upbeat and laughing. But when I first started teaching, I would find that uncomfortable because I feel like I'm not in control here. Sure. I need to tell people to be quiet and be like a teacher would be when you're in school. Okay, right, everyone be quiet because I'm about to speak. And now, yesterday, I just let it happen. I was sitting there and I sat there, let the people speak to each other, have a bit of a laugh, and then eventually it simmered down organically on its own. Because before, I've been quite naive and maybe insecure that I wanted to assert my dominance, and that actually can give people a bit of taste in their mouth, because you're trying to be authoritarian in your approach. And I actually think, and I'm going to touch on this again, is people are very sick of being told what to do and having this guru-like figure who like pulls them into poses. And I think that, as you said, we know what to do with our body. We know what feels nice, and we don't need to have someone who is pushing us or pulling us into things and thinking that they know our body better than we do. So I'm interested with Strala. You don't physically assist. Is that like in the blueprint of the teaching, or is it something that's just evolved?
Yeah, you wouldn't come and you wouldn't adjust somebody per se. So you can, if somebody's in, I keep using Warrior 2 as an example, but you can come and rest your hands on their shoulders to help them soften. But the touch and support is done through shiatsu, which is
massage.
Not massage necessarily, no, but it's the person's supporting you just as much as you're supporting them. So in a if somebody's in child's pose or pigeon pose, like coming down to their level, never standing over them and pushing on them, and leaning on them. So it's, an equal, this kind of equal weight where, you're just resting on them. It's almost like you're taking a breather on somebody's back. So, it's very, in the training, there's a whole kind of week dedicated to that, of where, certain points you can touch somebody on a hand. And obviously, as your teaching evolves, like, you're not just going to go to anybody and, like, do your, like, crazy shiatsu move, but, there's pressure points on the leg that you can kind of lean into that involve relaxation. But it's never a manipulation of somebody's body, like you're out of alignment. Of course, if you see somebody's knee drifting over, you'll mirror them and guide them out of it to a safer place. So it's never coming and manipulating their body in any way, because like you said, people know what works for their body. And I think with yoga, a lot of times people are told to do things with their body that don't feel good. And you know your body better than I do. So I'm here to guide this experience. If this doesn't feel good for you, find another way.
So just the shiatsu, what is that? Why do I think massage when I hear that word?
Because there is shiatsu massage, and if you were to go for a session, it is a whole, there is a massage element where people are going on their belly, but for the sake of a practice, there's certain, we call it touch and support. There's certain things you can do to somebody in like shavasana or final relaxation to just help them soften. You're not doing like a full on bringing their arm up above their head sort of thing. Yeah,
but I had this conversation that we're talking about with Adam Husler a couple of weeks ago, and Adam Husler is he's comes from the Jason Crandall lineage, maybe for want of a better word, and very anatomical, practical, technical, and not he kind of says that he doesn't really physically adjust people at all, and I think part of that, maybe he hasn't said this explicitly, but is being a man as well, and and just particularly in the current climate. But what I'm real conscious of now is that I don't touch anyone now ever, unless I'm shaking their hand, or I'd give someone a hug at the end of class today. Like I had this lady the other week who was upset, and I said, "Do you want a hug?" I didn't know what else to say really. Which only makes things worse. I realised that if someone's upset and you hug them, or maybe in the short term it makes things worse, but overall it makes things better.
We're big huggers at Strala. We're like, bring it in. Like, we're very much like.
I think a hug is good, but now I'm just conscious that I don't touch anyone ever, and that I don't think that is a good thing. I think that's, but it is a skill that should be practiced. So talk to me about, because Brona was chatting about the retreat you got coming up. What's that all about?
That's what I know. People ask me, I'm like, I don't know. We're just gonna go do some yoga. So the retreat is I never like dreamed as a little girl of doing my own yoga retreat. It was just something that kind of came up. I always see retreats in like Mexico or, all these tropical places. And I feel like Ireland is always a place on people's bucket list, like especially the Cliffs of Moher, which is where the retreat's taking place. And then last year I have a friend on Instagram, and her friend had posted that she was at this beautiful retreat center in the Cliffs of Moher. And I'm like, what? What is that? And that's how I literally found the place. I emailed them that week. And I'm like, hey, I'm a yoga guide from New York. I'd love to talk about dates. And that's what happened.
You like sending the old email, don't you? Which is good. That's great.
That's the only way. People are like, when I started to do classes in Ireland, because teachers in New York would be like, how did you do? I'm like, I literally just emailed them. You know?
And I think also as well, email is actually a skill. Read your email. What does it say? Have you asked a relevant question? I recommend for anyone who hasn't come from a business background, or maybe is not marketing inclined, to do a little bit of research on what makes a good email if you're proposing something.
Yeah.
Because everything that when I first started this podcast, I was like, oh, I'd love to have some sponsors that were in line with my morals, and now I do, and I have more coming on board, and all of them are because I initiated it, and I put together a proposal, and I treated it as showing what value I could add. And now I was watching your Instagram stories, and you were talking about how you're in a position now coming over to Ireland where you feel a little bit like you used the term imposter syndrome. And I think whenever you feel that, that's quite good, because you're putting yourself into a position where it's, I don't want to say over your head, but you're challenging yourself. How have you, I want to talk actually about imposter syndrome. How has this manifested itself? What do you actually feel, and how do you reconcile this feeling?
Well, that's why I'm sure, I put an imposter syndrome question mark, because I'm not even really sure if that's what it is, but it's I do these things and I tick all the boxes. I'm very much goal oriented. I'm very driven, but I also have a tendency to kind of take myself out of the moment, because I don't want to be the center of attention, or I don't want to, I get a little awkward in that way. I don't want people to make a big deal of what I'm doing. I just want to do it and then move on. But with that, I kind of don't enjoy things as they're happening. So, a lot of times when I'd say, oh, I'm doing this retreat in Ireland. Oh, you're going on retreat? No, I'm leading the retreat. You're leading the retreat, and it's kind of this, who are you? But who are we all? I think that's why going on this retreat, I have a schedule, but as far as classes and meditations, I've done this, and I think you talk about confidence as a teacher. There's just something that clicks that I know, I've got this, I've got it. And I also know a huge part of it too is, and it's very Strala, and it's just how the thing about Strala is that it's also, and yoga in general, is it's a lifestyle, right? It's not just a physical practice. So for me, this idea of, well, I'm here, but we're all here, and we all have something to bring to the table. So I don't feel like it's just me being this teacher that's doing this thing. I feel it's very much a communal thing where I'm just here to hold space so people can have this experience. So if they see the schedule and they don't want to come to a class one day because they're tired, or they want to go for a walk, wonderful. Because again, you know what you need better than I do. So I'm not going to take you here to the cliffs and be like, you're going to do everything that I say. That's not what it's about. And that's not what I'm about. It's not what my classes are about. It's just not how I live. And I think that's why I feel so relaxed about this, and why I'm yeah, it's going to be great.
So have you done many, as in, is this you're hosting a retreat, but have you hosted many before?
Never hosted, never been on one.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, it's a fascinating avenue to go down. I already feel excited thinking about retreats, because I've only been on one, and I'm hosting my first one in a few months.
Cool.
And
I'll let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of things, you can kind of overthink these things, or what people expect. But ultimately, it's a case of, do you actually want to host people? Do you want to look after people? And I know for me, maybe you experience the same, but being a yoga teacher, actually you spend a tremendous amount of time on your own. You're on your own all the time, going from place to place. And I would love to bring people together in a real, not just digitally, but in actual real life. And I do think, though, and maybe this is something to be wary of, is that some people come to retreats and they really need them, psychologically speaking, and there might be a lot of emotion, and I think it would probably help that you're a mother, because you have that maternal instinct. Have you thought about that?
I have totally thought about people needing the retreat for different reasons, and that this retreat might bring up some stuff. It might bring up stuff for me. I don't know, but I think that there is. I'm a Gemini, and there's these two sides of me where I really love my alone time. I'm on a plane to Ireland by myself. You know what I mean? I have no problem doing that. Love spending time by myself. But I'm also, one of my gifts, I feel, is bringing people together. I'm big on community, big on people feeling supported and seen and heard. So I have no question that whatever does arise, I got them. whatever they need, you know? And of course, as a teacher and just a person in the world, boundaries are important, you know?
Yeah.
But I think just giving people the time to, giving people space, giving people time, giving people the permission to feel, right? And be heard, and again, be seen. So I think, I don't know if it's maternal. I think that I've always been that way. But I just really care about people. So that's not something I've thought about it, and that kind of, you know, not psychological, but like whatever it is that they need out of this, you know, they're coming for whatever reason, and whatever that reason is, they'll be supported.
Yeah, and I think the people, sometimes I was thinking about, okay, we've got to have loads of classes during my retreat, but really people want a reason to meet other people as well.
Sure.
And to do other things apart from just the physical postures, to eat together, to go on walks together, and that really excites me. I think there's something to when you're like, you figure out something that I mean, when I was doing my website for my retreat, doing my page, I spent days doing it, and the days just went like that, went so quickly because I was so into it. I was like, I can't believe the retreat sold out quite quickly, which is great, but I can't believe people want to come to a retreat with me, and my co-host, shout out to Elisa. And it's very humbling, and it makes me want to do more of that. But it's talking about actually. One second, what was I going to say? Yeah, leading a retreat. Is it just you then? Or you have a co-host?
Dennis Jackson from Flow Studio in Belfast, he is coming along. He's going to lead a yin class and lead a meditation. So, yeah, and even that, like, oh, am I leading the meditation? It's like, yeah, but not really. And I know it sounds really hokey and cheesy, but I feel like it's a communal thing. Like, I'm there to steer the ship, but it's like we're all in this together, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm doing the bulk of it, and I think that for this first one, it also works out because it's on the Cliffs of Moher, so it's like there's a cliff walk. Like, people want to be outside. Like, so I have that buffer of like, yeah, there's a good amount of classes in the short amount of time we have together, but at the same time, it's like, it's kind of taking care of itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're talking about how when people have stuff to share in terms of their emotions or their psychological well-being, I've realised that when people talk about being a good communicator, and how you think about someone who's, say, we use the expression in Ireland, the gift of the gab. Have you heard that expression? Yeah, and it means that you're a good talker. But that doesn't mean you're a good host or a good teacher. And what I've realised, like, for example, yesterday, I had someone ask me, how are you? And I said, I'm good. But what I realised was that they really wanted me to ask them how they are. And we do that. We do that. And that's fine. And I've realised now that I have to have a boundary. You know,
Sure.
No matter how I'm feeling, I want to be polite and to show them respect and respond to them, but then to shut up and let them actually speak. And that is a huge skill to have in terms of leading a retreat. I want to ask you though, because I'm interested in parenthood. I'm not a parent, but I'm 37, so I would like to be a parent soon. Have you? And I'm not a woman either, and I'll never have a baby, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I don't know. How you said that you were always you like bringing people together, but having an actual child, you have one child, you?
I gave birth to my son, Sam, and then I have a stepdaughter, Erica.
Nice one. Okay. But that process of becoming a mother, how did it change your life? Just big question.
You know, how did it change my life? I think it's true in that you start to see things through their eyes, like even how you talk to yourself inside your head, or like how important all these things are, and then you're like, oh, none of this shit really freaking matters. You know what I mean? Like, it is also fleeting. And I think that presence is really important. Patience, like just learning patience, that not everything, and there's part of me, I don't want to say I'm a control freak, but I'm organized and I like to have things a certain way to a certain extent. So, that goes out. Can I curse on here?
Yeah.
No, I'm like, that goes out the freaking window.
Yeah, it's so good. You can curse.
So, yeah, just that presence. And I think that, my husband and I really pride ourselves on, Brona and I were talking about this yesterday, of, just living a life that you love. And it sounds really woo-woo and hokey, but like, if it's not making you happy, like if you hate your job so much that you're waking up sick, and it's like, I know, you sit in your yoga castle, it's so easy for you, peace, love, and ease, but it's not, that's a choice, right? And I really think that, I really believe 100% that people can do anything that they want. And I think they need good people to support them. And I think as a mom and having a child like that explodes, because like you see your little boop bop and you're like, you are just this person. And my husband and I also say, like, we're not here to like tell you who you are. Like, he's showing us who he is, and we're just along for the ride. And I think that's what you should do with people too, and like giving people their space and time to explore that. And also in terms of like movement and yoga and why Strala, it's like, you look at babies, that's natural movement right there. And as adults, we spend so much time, money, and energy undoing all of these things to get back to that childlike energy. And like, I'm a mom, like I pay bills, I'm a wife, all these things, but like I am a big kid. Like, I love life, I love people, I love to laugh. Like, I don't take things too seriously. So I think having a mom just kind of reinforces that stuff.
How do you deal with your kid? So how old is your son?
3.
How does he use a tablet? Or my question is going to be,
Sure.
I'm fascinated by our relationship with technology, and I only discovered the internet when I was 17, really.
Sure.
I remember someone giving me the email address, and I thought, email, that's never going to take off, And
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And
you contact me on Instagram.
Exactly, yeah. And I didn't know how because I haven't grown up with a tablet or a phone. Are you conscious of how much your son uses these devices, if he uses them yet at all?
Sure. He doesn't really use them. Like, he'll pick up Colin's phone and take like pictures. He watches TV, but like there's a really good balance. I mean, we live in Woodstock, so it's beautiful outdoors. I feel like it's a very good balance. He's not on a tablet if we go out to eat, unless it's like danger zone, like please help. Like, we don't do like a phone at the dinner table. I see that and it makes me really sad. Like, I grew up where my mom would light candles, she would bring out the salad, then the second course, like you talk and you sit down and you eat. We do that at dinner now, even with him. Yeah. We turn off the TV, we sit around the table, and we start the meal by saying, Sam, what's one thing you're grateful for today? And sometimes it's fucking Paw Patrol, but you know what? Like, it should be at that age, Yeah. But he gets it. And if we don't say it before we sit down, he'll go, Mama, what are you grateful for? So I think there's this balance of like, it's even like just being a person in the world. Like, you're not going to do all the things right all the time, right? It's like with veganism and this and that and the other thing. Like, don't beat yourself up too much. Like, if he's watching TV for a couple hours during his school break, like, at the end of the day, like, I also know he's been running around outside, and it's okay. It's okay. I think when we try to manage it too much, that's when it becomes tricky.
Yeah, but I think I have these imaginary, this imagination that like, I am a father. How would I bring up my child? Because I hope to be one day. And I think when you think about child development, you think about your own development.
Sure.
And I actually read that one of the biggest factors for a well-balanced adult is growing up having dinner with their parents, actually sitting around the table. And I noticed in the local McDonald's, the one actually nearby, I don't know if the same in America, they have tablets on the tables. Do they have the same?
I don't know if they have them at McDonald's, because I honestly haven't been, but like, we have Olive Garden at home and they have them at the table there.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to distract the kids. So let's go back to your So you've come from the West. You were in Salt and Soul.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Oh, where? Okay, so you've come.
So I haven't taught anywhere yet. We go to Sligo from here today.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Have you? So you haven't been to that studio yet? Mm-mm. It looks nice though.
It does. She reached out to me on Instagram.
Oh, nice one.
And was like, "Are you?" I said, "I'm coming to do this retreat. That's like the one day I have free."
Yeah, nice. And when are you going back to America?
Next Saturday.
Okay, and then when you get back to the States, do you plan to do more retreats to come back here?
Yeah, I want to see how this one goes. I have a good feeling about it, but I think that I'll probably plan another one for a couple years out. Maybe 2021. Like give myself a breather, because I'm like, oh, it's mid 2019 already. I don't know if I'm ready to do one like next year already, but. Yeah, I would love to come back to Ireland. And Ireland is just such a special place for me. And I don't want to say, like, I've got my market, but, like, I feel like it's, like, at least in America, like, I don't know any teacher that's offered a retreat there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I hope to come back and lead another one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if people want to find out more about you, you don't have a website, do you?
I do. I'm in the middle of updating it.
Oh, okay, because I checked.
Yeah. I do have a website. It's called rootyogawellness.com.
Oh, that's your website?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, brilliant.
Yeah.
So why are you updating it? What are you doing to it?
Well, I feel like I have a lot of balls in the air, and while I'm excited about all of them, I just need to, like, streamline them a little better, make it clearer. I don't know. And also, I like new projects. Like, I like changing a font every so often and adding new pictures and stuff.
What are you going to focus on? Because I'm about to redevelop my website too. Mm-hmm. And I think a website is important. I know loads of teachers don't have websites at all, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to hosting things, retreats, taking bookings, taking payments, you need a website. But as well, when someone looks at your website, it should be quite simple as to what does this person do, what's their specialist area.
Yeah.
So what are you going to focus on with your website? Have you thought about how you're going to narrow it down?
Well, I want to start writing more. I feel like I get inspired and I do these long ass Instagram posts. Like I'm passionate about a lot of things, and I feel like I want to have a blog space or something on the website. I do plan on starting a podcast of my own.
Good.
At some point. So kind of having it be this hub. I also, apart from yoga, I do coaching with people remotely. And when I go home, I start off with new clients. So that's also a big part of, quote, my business. And I love that. That fills me up, in a big, big way. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's kind of like this hub of all the things that I do, but just more clarity and specificity, because I feel right now it's like, there's some buttons that aren't in some good places. And I just need to, aesthetically make it a little more user-friendly.
Yeah, and also it's your shop front.
Sure.
Instagram is great, really good, but it encourages short attention span.
Yeah.
Like I see people write really long posts, and maybe it's just me, but I don't really read them unless it's something that is relevant to me. And that's where, and you're a good, you've written for that. Is it eventful? The mama.
Oh, expectful,
eventful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it is eventful when you have a baby, but expectful. So obviously you have a talent for writing, and I think that long form content, there's that is still a very needed medium.
Sure.
I'm interested because you mentioned the word podcast. I adore podcasting. That's why obviously I started one. But why do you want to start a podcast?
I feel like I know a lot of interesting people, and I have a lot of interesting conversations, and especially in the health and wellness world, and maybe especially being in Manhattan, there's a lot of bullshit out there, and there's a lot of people sending mixed messages. Like the food thing, for example, is something that I feel very passionate about, of like messages that we're sending people about what they should and shouldn't eat, and body shaming and all of these things, and motherhood, it's a bed of roses. Well, no, it's not all the time. Like, give it to me straight, so I feel like there's so many topics where I might be a little ignorant and I don't know a lot, but I just want to have an honest conversation, because I have these with people, but people don't want to post it, or they don't, there's like kind of taboo things that people don't want to be known for saying, and I get it, but I also think that there's I know that I'm pretty transparent, like on Instagram, like when you meet me in person, like I'm the same person. I'm not really, I'm not hiding behind a filter or whatever. But I think that when I do some more kind of serious truth talk stuff on Instagram, I'll get a lot of messages from people that I wouldn't expect feeling the same way. So I think that a lot of people are either suffering in silence or they have these opinions and these passions about these things. And I just want to create a safe space for it, you know?
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of things there, the filter. The thing of when I record myself doing an Instagram story, I feel like I'm acting because I feel like I'm being timed. Okay, get this information in, and I'm not really that authentic because I'm trying to catch attention quickly.
Sure.
And that is what I love about this medium, us having a conversation, is that this, once it's published, will be on the internet forever.
Yeah.
Crazy, isn't it? But then so people go, oh, Rae Broderick, who's she? Google her name, the podcast will come up, and they can listen to that anytime.
Yeah.
And as you said, you're speaking how you normally would.
Sure.
I mean, I've met you outside of this studio, and I think that is the future of social media or of communication. I think we'll look back at Instagram and be like, we'll see it for what it is. It's good to have pictures, definitely, but it's there's a wall there.
It's curating.
It's curating, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a wall there. But whereas with podcasting, I really do think is the future. I mean, look at for example, Russell Brand, he's going on to a Luminary. This is
I downloaded it.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know, people listening, a Luminary is a podcast platform where you pay a subscription fee. It's the Netflix for podcasting, essentially. And they are, at the moment, only taking high-profile podcasters that have a large listenership. And therefore, there's no sponsors. You pay your monthly subscription and you listen. So if that kind of company, and you have people like Russell Brand going to it, is being created, this is a market that's, what a market is, but like a medium to get involved in. But I do think though, Rae, that some people, as I said to you, said to you at the start, anything that you don't like, we can cut it out, and you're like, yeah, no, whatever, I'm an open book. So many people are not like that. And when they speak into their story, they have all these filters on, love hearts going everywhere and stuff.
Yeah, and those are cute, like sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. But it's a bit like, you're painting yourself into a picture where when people meet you in real life, they might be disappointed. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really post many pictures of me doing impressive poses now, because I don't want that to be that important.
Right.
Like and I think that's something to consider, because if you're talking about motherhood not being all a bed of roses, you're allowing people to feel better about themselves than if you to paint it all in just to be positive. People think, oh shit, I can't live up to that,
Well, and I think that's why a lot of it is selfish in my part, because I seek community at like every level. So if I get to feel less alone too, and somebody can go, oh, I can relate, it's like, oh, great, I'm not crazy. And I can feel like a little less, alone in it. And I think because social media and that thing is like a big wave of the future, and how a lot of people connect and how you make real in-life connections. Like my friend Dennis, who's coming on retreat, like we were Instagram friends. Like people ask how we met on Instagram, and now he's one of my really good friends, and I don't think that that's strange. And for me, it's like anytime I can kind of like knock down the filter or take away like a stigma that's attached to something, or the better. Like, let's have a conversation around this. And as far as like, I want my website to be like a useful platform, but I do think that Instagram, people ask how I like marketed my retreat. Instagram and Facebook, I just made, that was it. That was it. I didn't take out like an ad in Yoga Journal, nothing. I was like, I just posted about it, and that was it. Yeah. But I think when you're real, people can see how excited you are. And to your point about like posting poses, if that makes you feel great, awesome. Like, let's see your tree pose. You know, I've started to get away from it a little bit just because Strala too, it's not about the pose, right? So I totally resonate with that, but sometimes like it is really fun and you're just feeling it. And I think that's the key. Why are you posting this? Are you posting this because you want attention I think it's a delicate line, and I think we need to be very compassionate in terms of how we observe other people's posts too. Because if you're really excited about like your dancer's pose because your leg is somewhere that awesome, like I'm excited for you. Like you can tell when your post is something that's like not authentic or something that's not coming from a good place. And I think that's the conversation. That's almost like what you're posting, but why? And you know, people don't care that it's like, oh, here she goes with like a salad. Who cares? But like my salad was yummy. And if I want to share that, like you have the choice to not follow people. That's the other thing too. It's like, just click the little button. You know, you don't have to go on a tirade on somebody's profile because you're upset about what they posted. Like find another soapbox and get off their page. Like you don't have to follow them. Facebook now, you can unmute certain people so you don't unfriend them. It's like this passive aggressive way of...
You can mute them.
Yeah, you can like mute them so they don't show up on your feed as much. So I think, you know, in terms of like judging content and what you should and shouldn't post, I think it's about like, well, how does this make you feel, right? And what's your intention behind it? Because is posting a yoga pose bad? No. Like, will people coming to my page think, oh, well, I need to be able to do this in order to do yoga? I don't know, because if you look at the rest of my page, you probably see that that's not what I'm about. But I also do like yoga poses.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's a good point. My thing is that I used to be just obsessed with trying to almost break my neck to do the like progress of my poses, and then I realized that, for example, I got a handstand workshop coming up. The picture is me doing the straightest line handstand I can, because that is what I'm selling, is basically the process to get to that stage where you do a handstand. So that is relevant to why am I posting. But just as I've gone on in teaching, I've become more confident at showing my face as well, and just my face and me doing something that isn't yoga. And that gives you a lot more freedom than thinking I have to constantly try to like dislocate my hip.
Well, people want to know who they're going to class with too. Like if you see your face or you introduce yourself and talk more, it's much less, I think it breaks down that wall, like, oh, this is just a person. Like, she loves Bruce Springsteen and the color brown. Great. Like, she's just a person, you know?
I know. I have people that message me and they don't have one picture of themselves on Instagram. And I'm fine. I'll message them back. But I think have one picture of yourself. Even the profile picture, just your face, you know? Yes. I'm looking forward to hearing your podcast. Do you have a launch date?
No, but I have ideas, and I feel it's something that keeps coming up for me, and I've had it literally for a year and a half in the back of my head. But I think I'm almost there.
Okay. Well, I look forward to that. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. This was great.
Done. That's it. There you go. I'll leave you with 2 sponsors, Apparel. Gentlemen, you want to be comfortable, you want to do yoga, you want to look good while doing it and do your bit for the environment all at the same time, you say? Yes, I do say. Go to #hashtag TYLP. That's ohmme.com/hashtag TYLP. Choose out your eco-active wear. They have a full range there. The spring collection is out. Punch in the promo code Kevin, KEVIN, and get 15% off your garms. Last but as always, definitely not least, this is no promo code. There is no commission. There is no online store as of yet. Smallchanges.ie. Check them out. They're doing great things. Whole Foods, local organic store, encouraging zero waste. If you're in the Dublin area, John Conjure, they're opening one up soon, another branch soon. So go and check them out if you're living local or if you come to visit Dublin, and get yourself some organic goods. That's smallchanges.ie. Have a great week. Thanks so much for listening. As always, get in touch if you've got any questions. Workshop next month, May 25th. handstands, all information on kevinboyleyoga.ie, and you can just browse from there. Thanks so much for listening again. Look after yourself. Ciao.